Hello students. In the previous class we have discussed about materials which are used in RCC. We have ended the previous session with the aggregates, like what are the quality parameters which are included in IS 456. So in this class we'll discuss about the design methodologies which we have discussed yesterday's class. So RCC elements can be designed by two methods, which is guidelined by the IS 456. One method is the method by having theoretical calculations with which is accepted procedures. Second is the method from experimental investigations. So there are certain theories which are proposed since 1900 and widely accepted theoretical calculations are three. One is working stress design, second is ultimate load factor design, third is limit state design. So working stress design and load factor method design fail to explain the probability of structural load which is expected to come on a building. So any building is expected to reach or is subjected to the highest load in its life period. So both working stress design and factor load design have failed to explain this. Moreover, working stress design considered only the stress parameters where the concrete strength and steel strength is limited, whereas there are no factors which are considered for the loads, which means partial safety factor is completely absent in calculation of loads. Only partial safety factor is considered in stress calculations or the permissible stresses in concrete and steel. This resolved the problems of the design, saying that the structures which are designed in designed in limit state design or working stress design perhaps have got a good solid structure, but they have failed to sustain the load due to shrinkage and creep, which are very long-term deflections. So these parameters have not considered in both of these designs. So it has led to a probabilistic approach, which we call now as a limit state design. Limit state design is an approach where the demerits of working stress design and the load factor method are considered. So we'll talk about it. So we are thinking about the load in which a structure is expected to come across. So if you have a structure which has a design period of 50 years, then you will design your structure to accommodate or to take the maximum load in its 50 years. So how do we calculate it? So if you draw the probability or the frequency of the maximum load in which a structure can expected, then it fits to a curve which we call it as a normal distribution curve. So we are limiting the load, we are limiting the stress in the steel and concrete, and that is why the name limit state of design came. So the definition of limit state design is, so the structure is said to be a limit state when the structure as a whole or a part becomes unfit for use during its life, its expected life. So the designer will always design a structure in such a way that the load in which we are calculated is expected to fall. Okay. So we have two categories in limit state design. One is limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. Limit state of collapse considers the limit state of flexure, limit state of compression, limit state of shear, limit state of torsion. So if you have a beam which is under flexure, so you can calculate the limiting moment of resistance in which that beam can carry in its whole life period. So that concept itself is called as a limit state of flexure. In the same way, you can also calculate the limiting axial load of a column. Limit state of compression, clause number 38 deals with that. So similarly, clause number 39 deals with the limit state of shear. Clause number 40 deals with the limit state of torsion. So working stress design and limit state design have working stress design and ultimate state design have failed to express the serviceability conditions, which are creep and shrinkage, right? So in limit state design, we are considering those also, right? Limit state of serviceability provides you the guidelines in order to have your structure to gain its durability, permissible limits for the deflection, the cracking, stability, vibration, fire resistance and fatigue. These 4 serviceability requirements are also answered in limit state design, right? So in limit state design, there are 5 conditions which we need to address. One is ultimate strength condition, second is durability condition, third is deflection condition, fourth is cracking condition, fifth is lateral stability against accidental loads. Any structure which is designed, it should withstand the ultimate strength, and we should able to allow the load to take extra load. That is what we are calling as overloading factor. We should consider it. For example, if we consider any column of 50 kilonewton load, we should allow it to take 50% extra, which is 100 kilonewton load. That is addressed in limit state design. This extra load is always considered when the structural element is in bending, shear, torsion, axial loads and tension. The durability conditions are when the structural elements are always to be fit to the environment. We cannot always expect our structural elements with a good fortune. So we should always have requirements which will fulfill the environmental effects, which are providing good cover for the steel against reinforcement, having good cement content in order to have carbonate reaction with the environment, and having good water cement ratio. These 3 are the main factors which we consider in durability conditions. In deflection control, we expect all the members against the load to deflect. But these deflections are always should be in the permissible limits. These are stated in the IS 456. So this can also be calculated by empirical method by using span depth ratio. So by imparting the span depth ratio and limiting the value of deflection, we can easily calculate the depth which fulfills the deflection criteria. This is mentioned in IS 456. This can also be calculated by theoretical methods, like we have simply supported with the Udall hole span. We have a deflection formula. We can also evaluate the required depth from it and we can use for the design. Cracking condition. When the deflection happens, although we can expect the cracking phenomena in majority in slabs. So this cracking condition should always be in the allowable limits. Should not be more than the thickness which is expected. We have empirical calculations in order to calculate the crack width, and we also have theoretical methods. We can follow either of them, which is accepted by the IS 456. The lateral stability against accidental loads is considered in vertical and horizontal peripheral as internal ties, which is majorly followed in columns. Going to the next slide. So we are now in a situation like, what is the amount of load in which a structure is expected to take? As I said before, the load, the frequency, if you calculate the number of times the structure is expected to take in its lifetime period, if you calculate frequencies versus the time, it really fits to the fits to the normal distribution curve. Researchers have failed to answer this. That is why we are assuming this normal distribution curve for calculating the load. And the characteristic load is a load. It is defined that it is a maximum working load that a structure will withstand and which has to be designed. And if you take a look at the curve which I have shown below, right? The y-axis represents the frequency, right? The x-axis represents the number of times, right? So your load, which always should be in the area of 0.45, which is considered the left-hand both sides. So 0 represents the average or the peak load in which the structure is expected to happen, right? The right side represents the how many number of times the load which is expected to happen with reference to average time. For example, if I take any value in the positive range from 2 to 3 by referring the figure, if I pinpoint any location in between 2 to 3, right? So what does it mean is the structure has a frequency of 2 to 3 times the capacity of the normal value, which is at 0. So if you take any structure and start plotting the load taken by the member, it absolutely fits to the normal distribution curve. So characteristic load is defined in such a way that the load should always be fitting to the 95% of this curve. 5% is not expected to fall, but 95% of whatever the value you are taking for your design, it should be in the range. So when we are talking about the fitting the probabilistic curve, we happens to have two parameters for our design. One is the strength of the material. The second is the load in which the structure is designed. So strength is always taken towards left hand side, which is negative value, which means we are decreasing the value, and the load is always to be the right side, which means we are increasing the value. So you can see that figure. I'm talking about FCK value. FCK stands for characteristic strength of concrete, which is always taken less than the average strength value. If, for example, if I have 10 cubes of M20 grade concrete, I always accept my result to be less than 20 Newton per mm square, which is the left hand side figure I'm talking. If I talk about load which is carried by this structure, I am talking about 100 kilonewton load, which is a mean load which is taken by the beam. I will design it for 150 kilonewton, which is a least probability, which least expected, but it should be in the range of that 95%. So my point here is the strength, the material strength is always decreased, and the load values is always increased. And the value which we are talking now is by how much is called as a partial safety factor. So partial safety factor is always taken in order to calculate the characteristic loads and the strength in order to get the design loads. So factor load is given by characteristic load multiplied by partial safety factor. And with reference to IS 456 table number 18, partial safety factor, it is given in clause number 18.2, 36.4 and clause number 4.3. So I repeat, factor load is given by characteristic load multiplied by partial safety factor. For example, if I have a working load of 100 kilonewton, so factor load is given by 100 kilonewton multiplied by partial safety factor. If I take 1.3, then my factor load is 130. If I take 1.5, then my factor load is 150. If I take partial safety factor as 2, then my factor load is 200 kilonewton. Okay. So with reference to the table number 18, I have shown you the table here which shows the partial safety factors for different combinations of loads. As per the previous classes we have discussed, there are dead loads, live loads, wind loads and earthquake loads. IS 456 always said you should consider the combination of these loads when you are designing. So there are 3 combinations, right, which I am quoted there: dead load plus live load, dead load plus wind load, or dead load plus earthquake load. The third is dead load plus live load plus wind load, or dead load plus live load plus earthquake load. It is to be noted that you should always consider either wind load or earthquake load. Both of them should not be considered. So when you are considering dead load and live load as a load combination for your design of the structure, and when you are designing for the limit state of collapse, so dead load should be multiplied by 1.5 partial safety factor, live load should be multiplied by 1.5, whereas wind load and earthquake load should be multiplied by 1. These values are stipulated in table number 18.2. And in limit state design, which is stipulated in IS 456, it is clearly said that in order to have the partial safety factor for the decrease of the strength of the materials, for the concrete you can decrease the strength by 1.5, and for steel it can be within the range of 1.15. Sorry. So if, for example, if I have a concrete grade of 20, the 20 value says that it is a characteristic strength of concrete. So 20 divided by 1.50 will give you the exact strength of the material. In the same way, if I have the yield strength of steel as 250 Newton per mm square, which is mild steel, and if I divide it by 1.15, you will get the characteristic yield strength of steel. So these are clearly mentioned. Now, how do we calculate the characteristic compressive strength of pause button, sir, for a second.
Number 1, దురదలు వస్తున్నాయి ముఖం మీద, చెమటలు గారుతున్నాయి, కాళ్ళు లాగుతున్నాయి, కదలేము. Now what did I do is here?